Hello and welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. Today is October 29th, 2020. It's a Thursday. That means the weekend's almost here, which means the election's almost here. I know I say this every day, but there's so much anticipation for it to end. At least I feel this anticipation, this excitement for it to be done with and over with so that we can go back to living many other aspects of our lives. I suppose we can go back to living those things anyways. But for some of us, myself included, we may get more distracted and pestered with the ads on television, with the ads in the email, the ads on YouTube, the ads everywhere telling us to vote or to vote against someone or to vote for someone, or how somebody's crooked and lying and trying to destroy our world and all of these things. I noticed that ads on television take a different emotional tone depending on the season. With politics, they can be very angry and filled with fear. A little bit of pride and kind of boastfulness, I would say. Sometimes filled with hope. But more than anything, there's a lot of attack ads that have a lot of anger and condescension and passive aggression and a handful of things like this. Holiday season in the US, typically around Christmas time, the ads become quite loving, and it's about gratitude, it's about love, it's about care, it's about the feeling of being home, supported. Just has a different tone. And I think the ads had this tone as well when we first went into this pandemic, that the ads were much more about working together and uniting and feeling connected to each other, in talking about supporting each other and trusting each other, whereas now they're much more the opposite, saying we shouldn't trust anyone. We shouldn't trust these people. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it felt so refreshing and relieving to listen to the ads this spring. Brought me a lot of hope in many ways, but then disappears, Then we go back into bickering. What I want to talk about today is related to money. And I imagine many of you out there right now are probably thinking about money. I think we think about money very often, whether we have enough, I don't think we think we have too much, whether we worry that we have more than other people, less than other people. And I think those are normal thoughts that we have and lots of emotions around it. But I think especially now during a global pandemic, people are we're having more thoughts and emotions as it relates to money, perhaps just different thoughts and emotions. So I've had multiple friends, especially from East Africa, reach out and ask me for money because they're struggling in many ways. Maybe they're struggling with school fees or, paying for tuition, or they're struggling to maintain their rent. And it's not just in East Africa, it's here too, right? In the US. It's other parts as well in Europe, that they're struggling to keep up with their mortgage, that we're struggling to pay our hospital bills, that we're struggling to pay our medical insurance, that we're struggling to pay our fees or tuition for school, that we're struggling to pay for food to put on the table for us and for our loved ones to eat. We're struggling to take care of our kids. We're struggling to take care of our parents. We're struggling to take care of our spouses or so many people. And in times like this, it's when we need to help each other. And how easy is it to ask for that help or to give that help? I know for me, I feel really guilty asking for help, especially financial help. And in a weird way, I feel really guilty not giving financial help to someone else. So I have this dual struggle in a way where I don't ask for money. And then when people ask for me for money, I struggle to say no. I say no, I'll say no, but when I do say no, I feel so bad. So a lot of times I'll say yes, even if I don't have the money to give. And it puts me in a strange, uncomfortable situation where I can run out of money pretty quick because I'm not asking. And sometimes I even feel guilty for receiving money when I give something to somebody and they're like, okay, let me pay you. No, I need to pay you. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Don't give me any money. Like, I feel bad for receiving the money. And then when people ask me, hey, listen, I'm struggling, like my family needs money. Like I was the one who made all the money and now I can't work because of the pandemic. Could you help me out? Oh, I feel so bad. And even if I don't have the money, I still want to give the money. And it's just not very sustainable. And I wonder what your relationship is to this. How often do you ask for money? How do you feel when you ask for money? Do you feel one way when you ask a certain person for money and feel a different way when you ask someone else? I wonder how this is for people, put it this way. When you're asking money from someone that you think has a lot more money than you, do you feel differently than if you're asking someone who you think has the same amount of money as you, or someone you think has a lot less money from you? Do you ever ask anyone who you think has a lot less money than you for money? Or is it always someone who's about the same level or much above? I talk about this because I think I've struggled and built this weird relationship with money, partially because of my experience living in East Africa. I think living in East Africa gave me a taste of what it may like to be perceived as, well, to be much richer than the people around me, and also to be perceived as much richer than the people around me. Someone who works in the U.S., minimum wage in the U.S. is pretty much, depending on where you go, is like $10 an hour. $10 an hour, if you work 40 hours a week, that's $400 a week. It's $1,600 a month. Minimum wage in a country like some countries in East Africa, like Tanzania, Uganda, can be maybe $100 a month. I mean, officially, but I don't know if everyone gets paid that much. So 1,600 versus 100. It's a huge difference. And so even someone working at a minimum wage job here is making, now, people over there don't all make $100. Some people make more. Some people make less. But even the people who are making more, it's not like they're making $5,000 a month. There's some people who make that much money, but there's not a ton. And so even then, someone making minimum wage in the US is probably making more money than most people in some of those countries. And so there is the kind of the objective wealth difference, but there's also the perceived wealth difference, because I think a lot of the people who look like me, who've gone to a country in East Africa, especially who live there, often work for really large organizations or really large like government, like UN or different governments or different companies, oil companies and mining companies, and get paid a lot of money. So they're not making US minimum wage. They're making maybe minimum $5,000 a month, but probably like 10,000 or more. Like a lot of people make a lot of money who look like me over there. And so when some people there would look at me, they could probably assume that I had just, $10,000 a month in income. And so I would find myself in this situation where I think a lot of people would perceive me as super rich and would ask me for money very frequently. I mean, on the street all the time, but even friends and close friends would think that I would have a lot more money than I actually did. And I think in a way I built up this, because I had the fear of saying no to people. I think my strategy of saying no, of alleviating the guilt in myself of saying no to these people, was to not have that much money. So if people would ask me for money, I'd be like, I want to, but I really don't have that much money. Like I played, I tried to play this card all the time in Tanzania when I was doing my internship there. Hey, Mzungu, which is like foreigner, white guy. Hey, Mzungu, naomba hela, which means like, I'm begging you for money. I mean, Tanzania, they say naomba, like naomba means to beg, but they say it for like just asking for things in general. Like if I wanted you to pass me the bananas, naomba unipe ndizi, which is like, oh, please, like, I'm begging you to give me the bananas. Whereas in Kenya, they would say, ndizi bwana, leta ndizi, or like, which is like give, like a very strong form of give, bananas. So in Tanzania, they say it a lot, but naomba hela, like I'm begging you for money. And I'd feel so bad. And I would try, sometimes I'd say, listen, I'm a student. And the reality was when I lived there, I was getting $500 a month. I wasn't making a lot of money. For there, it wasn't minimum wage. And it was decent. It was pretty good income, but it wasn't a good income for what people assumed I was making. People assumed I was making probably 5,000. So anyways, I think I got to the point where I felt so bad of saying no, because I knew that my family back home had a lot more money than their family did there. That there was more money in my family, in me, in my friend network in the US than there was there. And I'd feel so bad about saying no. So I kept saying, listen, I'm a student. Mimi mwanafunzi bwana, which means like, I'm a student guy. Like, man, I'm a student. And it still didn't make me feel that great at saying no. I still felt guilty. But I think over the years, I've built in this, what do you want to call it? Almost defense mechanism of trying to not have money so that when people ask me for money, I can say no without feeling so guilty about it. The thought of me thinking that I'd have millions of dollars in the bank and somebody in East Africa asking me for money and me saying, no, I'm not going to give you money. And then also the thought of me giving money to every single person that asks, like, I don't know how. I can't imagine how some of the super rich people on this planet deal with this. I mean, that was me being relatively rich in East Africa. But when I come back home to the US, I'm not, I don't necessarily look as if I have tons of money, and I don't have tons of money. Again, I don't come from a poor family. My family has some money, but it's, I think it's something that I struggle with. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit today to see how much some of you struggle with these concepts as well. When someone who has a lot less money than you asks you for money, what do you do? Do you say yes all the time? Do you say no all the time? How do you decide whether to say yes or no? And how do you feel when you say yes or no? How is this relevant to the pandemic? So many of us are struggling financially, but so many of us are doing very well financially. Some people are working from home and they're saving money on driving to work. They're saving money on parking. They're saving money on eating out at restaurants. They're saving money on so many things, but still getting paid the same income. Some business owners are making a lot more money. I remember watching something on TV. It was talking about outdoor heaters. So in the US, a lot of restaurants are trying to have outdoor dining spaces as it goes into the winter and gets colder. And so one way they're doing that is buying these outdoor space heaters. And so companies that make space heaters are starting to make a lot of money. Just as like before, right when the pandemic started, everyone started buying webcams and lighting for their home webcam setup and microphones and all these different things. So certain industries and certain businesses boomed. They really took off, whereas other ones collapsed. And so a lot of our friends and family either have a lot of money or no money. The divide can, maybe getting stronger, like larger and larger, wider and wider. And so I imagine a lot of people are either asking for money or wanting to ask for money or needing to ask for money. Maybe not even wanting to, but needing to. And so how do we feel when they ask us for money? How do we feel when we respond with a yes or a no? Do we respond with a yes or no? If we feel so guilty and ashamed, maybe we ignore the conversation. If we feel so afraid of how it might make them feel, we just ignore them. We don't answer their email. We don't answer their text messages. I know I've done this recently, and I feel really bad about it. But I also feel really bad maybe saying no to a person who needs the money. I also feel guilty that I won't give enough money. I'll give money and the person will go, oh, that's it? I mean, how many interactions have I had in my life, or you had in your life, where someone on the street was asking you for money, and then you give money, and then they make a disappointed and kind of angry expression after you gave them money, like, come on, man, like, I wanted a lot of money. Like, come on, you just gave me $1. I wanted $5. Like, what's wrong with you? Or you gave me $5. Come on, I wanted $20. Or you gave me 25 cents. Come on now, I change. Like, I don't want change. Where some other people are totally fine with it. And some other people, when you say no, say, bless your heart, and like, I hope you have a great day. And I'm grateful just for the interaction, What? And so the reaction can be so varied. That I think it can drive a lot of emotions in us. Now, switching to the other side, how do you feel when you think about asking for money? I've had to ask money. Typically, it's been of my family. But when I think about asking money from a stranger, I feel horrible. I feel horrible asking family for money, even friends for money. I feel horrible. So asking a stranger for money, especially, I can't even imagine how humiliated I might feel asking for the money. Gosh, so many emotions as it relates to money. Maybe your relationship has changed with money. Maybe before you had a certain relationship, now it's different. That could be the challenge, is that before maybe you were the one making a lot of money, and now during the pandemic especially, you're not, or for some other reason you lost your income generation ability. Maybe you retired and you're no longer receiving the salary you used to receive. Maybe you went the opposite way. Maybe you're a student and now you're fully employed, and so you're making a lot more money than you used to. And the dynamics and how this shifts, where in some times of our lives we're asking for money more than we're being asked, and in other times we're being asked more than we're asking for it. Yeah. I don't think there's a right answer. I think there's just a lot of emotions. And just trying to be mindful of them all, because at the same time, while I feel really guilty asking for money, and sometimes even guilty for receiving it, I also can feel very grateful for receiving it, and very lucky and honored in a weird way, that people wanted to give me the money. I can feel strong in receiving it too. I can feel strong in giving it. And in saying no to someone who's asking, I can feel strong. It hurts because I think by saying no to them, I'm hurting them. But sometimes when I don't say no to them, I'm actually saying no to myself. It's hard. It's hard, man. I think when economically people are a lot closer to each other, it's not as hard, because then if somebody asks me for money and I say no, then it's not like I'm potentially hurting them as much. It's like a part of me is, somebody in East Africa asked me for money, and I know that they don't have too much money, and I know that the US dollar goes pretty far over there. It's like a part of me that says, no, I'm not going to give you the money, and then I go spend it on a $5 or $10 Starbucks drink or a beer. Really? That could have bought food for them for like a couple days. I'm just going to spend it on a freaking chai latte. or something even more, like an app. Like I spend it on some game on my phone, something that really facetious or seemingly facetious, spurious. Tough, man. Tough. Maybe this is why it's really hard to live with such strong economic inequality. Again, I can't imagine what it must be like to have a lot of money. So much money, not just like a lot of money relatively to one country, but a lot of money relative to most people on the planet. I remember I met up with a friend in San Francisco, and he started a company and sold it for, I don't know how many millions of dollars. We were chatting. We hadn't seen each other in years, and we were catching up, and he was showing me the new car that he bought, and it was something like I think it was an Aston Martin. It was like $300,000 car. And I'm just like, wow. And at this point, I was starting a company and had like no money at all, and still struggling. And then I went and I actually bought the beers and the chicken wing appetizer that we had. And afterwards, I'm like, why did I buy it? I have no money. Why do I have this compulsion to like balance the score and keep it even? I don't even have the money. He has a lot of money. But I can also imagine how annoying it might be to be the person who has a lot of money and always be expected to pay for everything that you go out for. Like every time you go out, people are just like, oh, so you're going to pay for it? Like, because you have a lot more than I do. Yeah, just the relative emotions and how it can cause us to feel so many different things. Yeah, so if we look at what's going on, I think in times of need, we have to get better at helping each other out. But we also have to get better at asking for help. I am a person who currently trying to get better at not trying to fully wrap it into my identity. I'm a person who currently can feel very excited to help and very guilty to ask for help, very afraid to ask for help, almost ashamed in ways. And so when that comes to finances and money, I can feel excited to give, like it feels so good to give money to somebody else. Oh my gosh, my friend wanted some money and he was really struggling and I gave money. Oh, it felt so good. I felt so strong and confident and proud. I can help this guy out. Then I also felt quite angry at myself because I don't know if I necessarily had the money to give. At the same time, I can feel so weak when I'm asking for money, especially, or when someone wants to give me money, especially. I have this assumption, maybe this is it. I just have this assumption that other people don't want to give money. It's this weird paradox or juxtaposition in a way where I feel really good to give other people money. And I assume other people will feel really bad to give me money. And so it's kind of the opposite. I feel really bad when I say no to other people. And no, I still think they feel really bad when they say no to me. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's, again, how I feel in this. So because I feel so guilty saying no to other people, a lot of times I think I give money when I don't really want to give money. And then I feel angry at myself and guilty. So I think I assume other people may do the same thing. I assume other people, if I ask them for money, will feel really bad because they don't necessarily want to give it. And if they do give it, they're not actually excited to give it. They're giving it out of guilt and like they feel good giving it, but then they feel angry at themselves, if that makes sense. So this idea that if I ask other people for money, they're not excited to give it on a donation basis or even on a product basis. But it's ludicrous because when I pay for things, sometimes I am very excited to pay. I don't know. I wonder how much of our expectation of the world is really just taking our own behaviors and assuming other people do the exact same thing. So, yeah. So in asking other people for money, I am afraid they're going to respond to me as if I were the one responding to me. So, hey, would you, I really need some help with some money. Could you lend me like $100? Or could you give me $100? Or will you buy this product for $100? And the person going, oh, I don't really want to, like I don't have that much money. I really shouldn't. Oh, but I really like him. Oh, he's a good guy. And so fine, I'll give him the money. And so giving the money, but like then feeling, oh, but that was stupid of me. I didn't really have the money to give. I should have prioritized it elsewhere. Why would I do this? Oh gosh. I think so much of life is just expecting other people to behave in the same way that we behave, and therefore driving lots of fear or excitement or confusion in our lives. uh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe the way to get over the asking is about dealing with the giving, you know? Change how I interact with people who are asking me for money. Get better at giving only when I want to. And just because I have something doesn't mean I have to give it. And it doesn't make me a bad person for not giving something, because even if I have it, I think it's harder for me to recognize that when it comes to money. But I think even with time, hey, could we have a phone call? I really need some help. And for me to say, I want to help you and I don't want to have a phone call with you. It's hard for me to say. I'm trying to get better at saying no to people in this way. I think it's hard for many of us. But I think if I get better at saying no to people, then I can assume, or then I start to assume that other people will behave as if I do. So they'll behave in a similar way where they may get better at saying no. Gosh, it seems like a magic trick, actually, to just practice my behavior in relation to somebody else. And that will actually change my expectation of their behavior. Huh. Oh, that could be fascinating. I think it's always worthwhile to remember that people don't always behave as if we do as well. So to complicate the perspective a little bit, I still think the underlying expectation is that people will behave as if we do, or like we do, as we behave. And anyways, I just wanted to talk a little bit about money today and our relationship to asking and giving money as it relates to what's going on with the pandemic. Because again, there are some people who are making lots of money, but there are a lot of people who are struggling financially, who are not making the money they used to, or are still spending a lot of money and don't have the opportunity to receive as much, and are making some really tough decisions and don't know really where to turn, don't know where to get help, and maybe very, very, very afraid to ask for help. So maybe the idea is that for some of us out there who want to give, maybe we can give without even being asked for it. I had a friend who gave me some money. I think I was talking about how I was struggling financially, but didn't ask her specifically, and she gave me some money, and it felt so nice. I don't even know how to put it into words. It touched my heart. So I think one way we can really help is to give money without people even asking us for it, because so many people who need it aren't asking for it. And I think another way we can help is if we need it, we can ask for it, And if we don't have it to give, we can say no, and it's okay. Or if we have it to give and we don't want to give it, we can still say no, it's okay. We don't have to give everything. Just because we don't do something doesn't mean we don't care about the person or love the person. I say that and I can still feel this like deep guilt, like, oh no, but you still should give. It's a work in progress. It's practice. It's a skill. and I hope to get better at learning it and improving upon the skill, and I hope you do as well, because there are a lot of us who need this, need the help, and a lot of us who want to help, and a lot of us who need the help and don't want to help, and need, it's not that we don't want to help. Okay, I'm going to go a little over time because I think I may have portrayed this a little, not in the way I wanted to portray it. Somebody asks us for money. It doesn't mean that we say no. It doesn't mean that we don't want to help them. Sometimes it means we want to help ourselves as well, and that we want to balance it out. I remember being in a conversation with a guy, probably 5 years back, and it was a time when I told myself I'm going to take 30 days and not drink any alcohol. And this was like day 5 of not drinking. And I went to this picnic with the girl I was dating, and it was a family friend that was there. And he's like, "Hey man, come on, I'm going to make you a drink." And so I walked up with him. I said, "Listen, I'm not going to drink alcohol." I said, "I'm not going to drink alcohol for 30 days. It's like day 5. He says, "Oh, come on, man. You're new to the culture. Like, I don't know who you are. Like, come on. This is what we do in my culture. Make you a drink." I said, "Man, you can make me a drink, but not alcoholic." He's like, "Oh, come on, man. This is disrespect. Like, you gotta, how am I supposed to trust you? I don't know who you are. Like, this is disrespectful, man." I said, No, listen. What I want to do is I want to respect you while at the same time respecting myself. If I take an alcoholic drink from you, that means I'm respecting you, but I'm disrespecting myself. So how can I do both?" He's, man, he kind of walked away and got distracted by a conversation. But for me, it was a big point. It was this idea of, I want to respect you and I want to respect myself. And so when someone asks me for money, it's like, I want to help you and I want to help myself. So I don't want to always be sacrificing myself to help you. And sometimes that's sacrificing financial wealth. Sometimes it's sacrificing really just going against what I feel that I want to do. And sometimes it's okay to feel that you don't want to do something, even if you can do it, and even if the other person really, really, really wants or needs you to do it. Sometimes it's okay to say no, because it's not saying no to the other person. It's okay, it is saying no to the other person, but that means you're saying yes to yourself sometimes. And sometimes in a way you have to say no or yes to one person. And sometimes we just keep saying yes to the other person and don't realize how much we're saying no to ourselves. That being said, a yes and a no doesn't mean a yes and a no. Doesn't necessarily mean that we are not caring about the person. It's just that we're trying to balance what's going on in life. And sometimes life is hard. I'd say most of the time life is hard. We have so much inner conflict and we don't know what to do. And sometimes we just have to make a decision and go forward and see what happens. So for all of you out there that are being asked or asking for money, saying yes and saying no, just let you know that you're not alone. Many of us are playing with this conflict inside our heads and inside our hearts. So good luck and take care, y'all. Hope I don't. I have relatives from Alabama, so I'd go down every year. And so there's a part of me, it's like, oh yeah, I like the Southern accent. It's my mom slip into it sometimes. Anyways, I'm not trying to just pretend to be a Southern. I got a sliver of Southern blood in there somewhere.